Planet Earth, there's some breaking news today, okay? At least 34 people have passed away in Beijing due to floods. I'm reading this article from the New York Times. Let's jump right in. All right, the title of this article is "Villagers are trapped as heavy rains in Beijing leave at least 30 passed away." The rain set off flooding and landslides, forcing tens of thousands of people to flee their homes in the capital and neighboring Hebei province. And here we have a picture of just some of the damage that we see in Miyun district of northeastern Beijing. And I mean, this is really, really sad. I mean, there's barely any road left, as you can see. All right, so torrential rains in Beijing and surrounding areas led to the deaths of at least 34 people as severe downpours set off flooding and landslides that trapped residents in their villages. So more than 21 inches of rain had fallen as of midnight in China in the Beijing capital area. Wang Haha, a 25-year-old resident from Yangjiatai, a village in Hebei, said her family was stuck in their village because roads leading to it had been blocked by landslides. She said that rescue workers had not yet arrived and she had only managed to get in contact with her relatives. And this is some really bad breaking news, I'm sorry. So I'm praying for y'all, all right? Man, this article even goes on further to say mudslides, landslides, villagers are trapped inside and can't escape, Mrs. Wang said. She wasn't in the village when the rain started, and some residents managed to leave by wading through the floodwaters and climbing over mountain roads. Some managed to get out, not all of them, but just a few. Just be aware, if you can't see how deep a river is, you don't know how fast it is. The currents are very, very strong, and water is a force that cannot be reckoned with, trust me. The article goes on to say more than 80,000 people in the outskirts of the capital have been relocated. Schools, construction sites, and tourist attractions were temporarily closed. Dozens of roads were damaged, and 136 villages in the broader Beijing area, which is largely rural despite being the capital's administrative area, had lost electricity. Guys, you want to plan ahead, just keep some extra water bottles, keep some rice on you, keep some food stocks, right? I know that's like not saying much, but it is what it is. And if you can, just have a life jacket at your place of residence. I know that might sound extreme, but hey, you never know. Like, there was flooding in the Philippines just a few days ago in Baguio City. There's flooding in Bangkok. There's flooding in China now. There's a whole bunch of floods happening in Asia. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Just on Monday night, Beijing issued its highest level flood alert. And it basically said people should not go outside unless it's totally necessary. China's leader, Xi Jinping, had ordered officials to firmly focus on flood prevention and exhaust all efforts to rescue victims. He said that China was currently in the critical period of flood prevention from July to August. That's good. I'm really glad that Xi Jinping is trying to put as much of his effort and time for his country to save it, because I mean, we can't go to China and save it. It's up to him, you know. And basically all the news that we get from China has been moderated, has been filtered, and we just don't know what the truth is anymore, you know. So I'm really choosing specific news articles, news companies when it comes to Chinese news, because I don't know what I'm reading. That's why I trust the New York Times. Some of y'all might laugh, but that's a legitimate news company. Extreme flooding has intensified in China in recent years. Chen Tao, chief forecaster at the China Meteorological Administration, said in an interview with CCTV that this year, the rainy season in northern China had begun abnormally early, with the average rainfall almost 30% higher than the same period in previous years. Ever since I moved to Asia in 2023, I've seen some wild flooding that I would never see in North America, all right? We don't get as much rain, so that was like a real eye-opener to me. I've never really been in many natural disasters until I moved to Bangkok. I've experienced an earthquake now. I've experienced quite a few floods, and it's wild, all right? You just got to stay alert, and my recommendation is if you're in Asia, don't live in a high-rise condo. That's because it's going to take you longer to get down the stairs, and I don't know. That's just how I feel. After the Bangkok earthquake, the Myanmar earthquake, which affected Bangkok, I will no longer be living in a building that's more than 10 stories. Personal preference. Information about natural disasters is tightly controlled in China, where the authorities are wary of public anger spreading. On Tuesday, some searches on the social media platform Weibo appeared to be censored. They included discussions of a reservoir in Beijing being discharged, which would flood surrounding areas, as well as talk about the death toll. That is some wild information, all right? I hope that is not true. I hope that a reservoir wasn't being discharged. I don't know if that's true or not, remember, and neither does the New York Times knows for sure. They're just saying that it was part of the discussion. If that is true, that is very wild. Lives have been lost caused by heavy rain have been announced in other parts in northern China in recent days, including Shaanxi province, where a bus went missing on Sunday. In the city of Jinan in Shandong province, at least 2 people lost their life last week after half of a typical year's rainfall fell in 5 hours. Imagine, rain for 6 months just happened in 5 hours. That is insane. In 2023, Beijing was pounded by the most rain it had experienced in 140 years of record keeping, but most of the damage was in neighboring Hebei province, where officials said they had opened floodgates to build a moat for the capital. That led to anger in affected parts of Hebei, where residents said they had not been given ample warning. In 2012, severe flooding in Beijing and Hebei took the lives of 145 people. The biggest natural disaster of all time happened in China in the 1800s, where 2 million people lost their lives due to a flood. Look, man, there seems to be like a continuous thing with China and floods, all right? China is the second most populated country in the world, all right? And most Chinese people will never be able to see this video. So I just want to warn y'all, all right? Stay alert, keep a life jacket, and keep some food stocks, all right? This is a really crappy day for China. We'll see you in the next video.